Hi, Mr. Cupcake here with a look at the new ship coming from Firelock Games, the 6th Rate Frigate, which they're releasing for their game Blood and Plunder, the 28mm historical game set in the late 17th, early 18th century. We were at Hurricon this year, and a few of us played in the sea battle against the Firelock crew, which they put this on the table, and which I'm now referring to as the 6th Rate sales pitch, which clearly worked because here we are. I got a copy of it there. And full disclaimer, this is actually a pre-release copy. So there's a couple minor differences I'll point out for what the full retail version. That'll be out, I believe, in December. So perfect time for Christmas. And as you can see, it'll make the perfect stocking stuffer. Here are the basics. First and foremost, they are not ship models per se. They are gaming models. That is to say, they make certain concessions on accuracy to facilitate their use in the game. Perfectly reasonable. That being said, simply saying they are representative would be selling them short. They are beautifully crafted models that more than capture the spirit and feel of the ships of the era. There's also plenty of opportunity to add a bit of flair if you want to go the extra nautical mile, even if you aren't a modeler. But for example, I'm far from an expert, and I easily added some cat heads onto my bark, as well as some dead eyes that I picked up from the Old Glory shipyards to make the rigging, just pop just a little bit. Of course, that's personal preference, and the models can easily stand on their own. As for construction of the model, they are cast in a very high-grade resin, and the quality control of Firelock is absolutely top-notch. Here's an example of a quote-unquote miscast sloop I picked up at a discount. I'm still trying to figure out why it didn't pass muster, so let me know in the comments if your eagle eye spots something I missed. Anyway, we are, of course, talking about resin, so all the normal caveats apply concerning heat, storage, and transport and all that. In fact, one of our members reported a slight warping to one of his ships he had left in the car. It was Florida, so you can't knock the resin too much because it was definitely subjected to the highest end of the heat spectrum. Also, it was a miscast ship and just so happened to warp in a way to improve the look of the model. So not sure if maybe the resin didn't cure right and that's why it was miscast or what. Regardless, an overabundance of caution when it comes to not having a twice-baked ship is probably good practice. Now let's get back to the 6 Rate. The kit is a standard Firelock ship kit. It comes with all you need to get it equipped, rigged, and on the table. For the pre-release, there are 3 differences from the retail. First, I got a plain brown box and not the fancy box, so I can't show you that. Also, this kit came with the medium guns instead of light guns due to some stock constraints before the show, and the ship card is printed and not the fancy card that comes with most of the ships. So no big deal. Everything else is the same, with the masts, the fighting tops, etc., all being provided. Taking a close look at the card, you'll see that it is a monster of a ship. It's absolutely bristling with cannon and swivels like a porcupine of destruction. The special rules do put some constraints on the armament. However, taking heavy guns will reduce the number of overall cannon, and only light guns can be taken as your bow chasers or your deck guns that are using the round gun ports. And you lose 2 swivels if you take the bow chasers. If you look at the card side by side with its most comparable ship, the Galleon, you'll see that the 6 Rate even has 1 less pair of guns overall. This means that it can't pack quite the same punch as the Galleon. You also notice that it is not as beefy as the Galleon, having 4 less hull points. However, it does have an advantage in speed and maneuverability. The 6 Rate gets an extra inch of speed and turning. That equates to 18 inches over a 6-turn game if both ships are moving at top speed. It also means the 6 Rate will have an advantage lining up its guns with that increased turn capability. In any case, it's definitely not a starter ship and intended for bigger games given the amount of crew you need to keep the guns firing. And I'm really interested to see some Galleon versus 6 Rate battles, which I'm sure won't take long for people to try out once the ship is fully released. Okay, I've beaten around the shipyards long enough. Let's get a closer look at the model. The first thing you'll notice is the incredible level of detail they achieved. It's an absolutely gorgeous model. I'm especially impressed with the stern, which of course historically has the most decoration anyway. The mermaids are fantastic. The lines holding up the shield are extremely well done, and they even managed to leave just enough real estate for anyone to add a bit of customization if they chose, but it's definitely not necessary. It looks great right out of the box. I will say though, it would be cool when they start delving into plastics next year if they gave us some kind of like decoration sprue with some options to personalize or something like that. That might be kind of a neat touch. Point of note, the painted images I'm mixing in are from Hurricon and are the model Mike Tunez, the game designer, painted for the show. He apparently painted it in a single night, and my hat's off to him for doing such a great job in a short time frame. It's also a testament to the quality of the model that he was able to accomplish a quick paint job and make it table worthy in that amount of time. All right, with the U's and O's out of the way, let's do some more analysis. First up is a quick scale comparison with a few of the other ships. Here is the 6 or 8 next to the aforementioned galleon. As you can see, they are roughly comparable in length, though the 6 is definitely lower and sleeker. And here she is next to her little sister, the Light Frigate. And this is where you kind of start to really see the size difference. And finally, here she is next to the Brigantine. And again, pretty big size difference, so you can see where the 6 will definitely be like a more big game model. As for deck capacity, I was able to squeeze 98 models onto the ship with no deck guns, and that dropped to about 90 when I added light guns to the chasers and the round gun ports, and I put medium guns in the middle to kind of split the difference. By deck, that came out to be 18 and 17 for the bow, 36 and 31 on deck 2, 27 and 26 on deck 3. Then you got 17 and 16 on stern deck. And again, that's the with and without any guns. It's also worth noting that the ship doesn't have the gun decks rule, so what you see is what you get on the deck, just like all the mainline ships. Next up, for the super nerdy beam counters like myself, I have some measurements for you. First, the overall length is right at 17 inches. The width of the deck, starting at the bow, you're looking at about 2 1/4 inches or about 6.5 centimeters at the narrowest point. It then widens out to what's the same width as both middle decks, which is roughly about 5 1/4 inches or 13 centimeters-ish. And the stern deck tapers down to just over 3 inches or about 7.5 centimeters. And for the height of the decks, we have the bow is right at 2 1/4 inches or 6.5 centimeters. The middle deck is right about 1 3/4 inches or about 4.5 centimeters. And the stern is about 2 3/4 inches or about 7 centimeters. And for those of you using the Simeon scale to determine deck height, they come in at 1 3/4 blunder monkeys for the bow, 1 1/4 for the middle decks, and 2.5 blunder monkeys at the stern. So as you can see, this is just a big, beautiful ship, and I highly recommend adding it to your collection, especially if you're going to be into like the bigger point, the higher point games, or you want to do like the army scale, fleet scale, army scale. Anyway, big games, perfect fit. To me, it's like a no-brainer. I think it just looks like it's going to be a lot of fun to run. And I actually like it a little more than the galleon. I think it's probably because their sculpting, it's not just that their sculpting's always been great, but I think what it is that they're getting better at manufacturing what they sculpt as they get more experience with the casting process and everything like that, and with the resin and all that kind of fun stuff. All the technical stuff, which is really great because as they move into the 18th century, I think they're going to see that level of detail increase. You're going to see like the sterns getting a little fancier and all that kind of stuff. So I'm really excited about what they have coming down the road for us. If you want to know more about Firelock and their games, be sure to check out their website. You can also join the Blood and Plunder group on Facebook, which is very active and is full of a lot of knowledgeable people. I'll put all those links in the show notes. We greatly appreciate it if you let them know the Just Ice League sent you. That helps us out. And then also closing out the video, we have a bit of a teaser for what we have on the horizon for the league. So stick around for that. And then more information will be following on that. So if you want to kind of keep apprised of the goings on, all the scuttlebutt, and follow our Facebook page is a good way to keep track of what's going on. Also, we really appreciate any subscriptions and likes here on YouTube, because with all the wonky stuff they're doing with monetization, it just really helps us out. So we appreciate it. But most of all, we appreciate you watching, spending some time with us. And until next time, game well. Game very well.